Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a mountain sunset. We'll get some wildflowers in the foreground. I'll be using acrylic paints, and I'll show you step by step how to do it all the way through from start to finish. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for our live show, so if you've got any questions, you can ask him, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Okay, so this is my reference image, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I tried to track it down. I think it was somebody in one of my groups posted it. So we're going to use that tonight as our kind of inspiration piece. And I'm using a Fredrix Pro Series Belgian linen archival canvas board for our painting today. Fredrix is our sponsored canvas company, so they've been providing me with my canvases, and we really appreciate it. They're wonderful. This one's nice and smooth, so I think it's going to do really well for our landscape. Let's go over our palette really quick. We've got Burnt Umber, Burnt Sienna, Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Medium, Cadmium Orange, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Cadmium Yellow Light, Yellow Oxide, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Teal, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple, and Light Ultramarine Blue. This one is just a pre-mixed version of Ultramarine Blue plus White, and the Teal is about equal parts Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green with White. So if you want to pre-mix those, you can. Just kind of gives me a head start. If you don't have these exact colors, you can use whatever you've got. Just kind of a variety of, magenta to sort of the whole rainbow here, actually. This is a real colorful one, so it should be fun. And we've also got our Princeton brushes that we'll be using today. All of the materials are down in the description. We'll be using the number 12 Bright for some of our large background pieces, the number 4 Filbert for some of the blending in the sky, the number 8 Bright, and the number 6 Angle Bright. And then I've also got a few more specialty brushes. These are the 6100 series. I've got a couple of the Deerfoot Stipplers in the Select brushes, the number 2 Bristle fan, and a liner. I don't know if I'm going to use the liner, but I might need it for some of the flowers. So this is the number 1 round. And then we've got a new brush that I haven't used before called Willow's Blender. It's 3/8 inch Velvet Touch. So I'm really excited to try that. And then an angle shader, the 3/8 inch angle shader. And Princeton has provided the brushes for our channel as well. They're our brush sponsor. So we've got 2 new sponsors this year. It's really exciting. All right, let's get started. I'm going to wet down my brush here with just a little bit of water. And we will start on the sky and just kind of work our way down. I'm going to grab a little bit of the Cadmium Yellow Light. We'll start with our lightest colors and then work towards our darker colors. And I need to spray this already. I can tell it's starting to get sticky. So just pick up a little bit of the Cadmium Yellow Light on the corner of my brush. And really this is just a little bit more of a lemony yellow than the Cadmium Yellow Medium. That one's a little bit more on the orange side of the spectrum, and this one's a little bit more on the green side. It's not a green yellow, but it's closer to green. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and add that. And then we'll come up here. And if you're using a canvas that's not as smooth, you might want to spray it a little bit at this point, because it can help to kind of help blend the colors if you have a little bit of water to start with on your canvas, because those dry canvases can soak the paint right up. I'm going to put out some of my glazing liquid too. I forgot to step that out. This is my acrylic satin golden glazing liquid. Golden glazing liquid has an extender in it that makes the blending a little bit easier. Regular glazing liquids do not. So if you have another brand, you might not get the same workability. So just a warning there. And I'm going to put my sun right in there. So I'm going to grab a little bit of white and just kind of plop that in right there. And you know what I forgot to do, honey?
What's that?
I forgot to draw my mountains in, so I don't know exactly where to stop these.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
I can draw them in for you real quick.
I was so excited about getting to paint this today. I forgot. I just started right in with the painting.
Hey, real quick, somebody wanted to know if they don't have titanium white, can they mix
Titanium white? Do you mean unbleached titanium?
Maybe. I know the ingredients to that, so maybe I read the wrong thing.
Titanium white? No, you can't. You can't mix titanium white.
Okay, so it's just titanium white, or any white would do.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Unbleached titanium is yellow oxide plus white and a little bit of burnt umber.
Yes. Look at you.
See, I take notes. I try to remember.
All right. Well, I guess I'm just going to go down about this far with my sky since I didn't put my mountain in there. I cleaned out that orange, and now I'm grabbing my Quinacridone Magenta, and I'm going to blend that in this way. And right now I'm not really worried about any streaks. As long as I'm kind of going side to side, we can kind of make those streaks look like they're clouds or, you know, part of the atmosphere. So grab a little bit of white and lighten it up at the top here. And just keep on kind of going side to side with it.
Should we say hi to everybody?
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hello.
Glad to have you with us today.
Yeah.
It's raining here. We're gonna have some thunder and lightning in the background.
On a sunny sunset.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should have this for your lighthouse painting.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yes, it would have been better. I don't know. The weather doesn't cooperate with us, does it?
But hey, if you've just stumbled upon the channel, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. You can subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up. A lot of people need to hit thumbs up.
Thank you.
Just saying. And as Angela said, down below is links to the Amazon store, all the stuff that we're using today. Brush Guys.
Brush Guys, yep. Get 5% off if you use the code Angela Fine Art.
Yep. Find the Princeton brushes there.
Yep.
What else do we got links to? Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter.
Yeah, if you're painting one of these and you want to show me, that's Facebook's best place to do it. I've got a group for that called Thinkful Art.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of nice people in there, and the #1 rule is to be kind and don't critique unless you're asked for it. So if you just want somebody to say, wow, that looks awesome, go in there and post it. That's the place for you. All right, I'm adding a little bit of, I went over this area with just a little bit of white mixed in with that yellow, just to kind of soften that up in that upper corner there. And down here I'm going to add a little bit more of purpley tones, but I'm going to start with the Cadmium Red Medium here and mix that in with the Quinacridone Magenta, and it's also mixing with these other colors. I'm trying not to go over this area too much. I'm probably going to go back in and add the sun a little bit. It might be a little higher than this. I'm probably coming down too low, but since I didn't draw in my mountains, I'm just guessing. All right, grabbing some purple now and mixing that in with some white and getting some more of the Quinacridone Magenta, creating a pretty violet color. Might be a little too light. I want it a little bit darker than that. That one thing about Dioxazine Purple, it is a really deep color. It's actually the darkest color pretty much that you'll have on your palette, maybe besides like a burnt umber or something like that, but it is naturally super dark. And so you actually, I think I'm going to switch to my #4 Filbert here now for some of this. It needs to be lightened unless you're wanting to you know, go really dark on purpose. Like if you want it to look purple and not black, you want to add some white to it. It's just going to need a little bit of white added. So here again, just going side to side, I've added a little bit of that glazing liquid to my brush to help it blend. Once this is like this area here is starting to dry now, so I'm not going to want to mess with that. I'm not going to want to go over it at all right now, because I need to let that dry and set for a little bit before it will accept more paint. Otherwise, it's just going to lift. It's going to stick to my brush and lift straight up at, off the canvas. So that is one thing about acrylics. They're a little bit particular about when they're drying. They start to bond to one another. It's almost like they're almost like a plastic. I think they probably are plastic derivative, and well, yeah, they are. Obviously, they are, and when they dry, they start to, bond to one another, and they'll bond to your brush. They'll stick right to it. So added a little bit of this light ultramarine blue in with my colors here, and I'm just kind of lightly going back and forth. Always this side-to-side motion to get it to blend. All right, I think that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and draw in some of my hillside and try to get that to dry. I might have to have Mark dry that for me.
Wow, it has been a long time.
I know, it really has.
I'm a little rusty, but I think I can do it.
You think you can do it?
I think I
can handle it. All right. So this is our halfway mark here. I'm going to go just above it for our the start of this hillside, and it's going to curve down, and it's going to angle down to about right here, which is, I guess, if you got half and a quarter, it's below the quarter mark on our canvas. Not quite an eighth, but it's. Didn't know you had to do math today, did you? And then we're just going to kind of angle this, and this one's going to kind of break off and kind of roll up like that. And then this one is going to continue to kind of come down like this, and about just a little bit past the halfway mark, it's going to join up with the back of this. This one comes in front. And then there's another one that kind of breaks off right here and pokes up right there and swoops down and comes back up. It might be a little bit tighter than that. There we go. And then down. And then there's some mountains over here. This one starts about the halfway mark, maybe just below halfway mark, and it curves down towards this one. And there's another one above it, pretty close. There's one that kind of curves up like this in between those two, and then it will continue. It goes really high, comes down. So in between, right where this dips down or starts to dip, that's where this one kind of will peak, and it is just above the halfway mark. So if you look at the halfway point, you're going to come just above that, and right about smack dab middle of your canvas, this one's going to have the top of this hill come right above it. And we did pretty good with our light. We're going to have to come down a little bit with our sky, a little bit right here. Didn't come quite high enough right there. And then right here comes down, back up. And honestly, you can do whatever configuration you want with your hills. They don't have to be exactly these hills, they don't have to be the same exactly as your picture. Just kind of get them close. All right. I want this one to be a little bit more like that. And then there's a bigger mountain that comes right about the halfway mark and comes, oops. Yep, see, that's not dry yet, so we're messing up our sky there. That's okay. We'll fix it. Fix it. And then there's another one right in there. And then these come up, back down, and then there's some smaller hills back in here. Okay. think we can work on the grasses at least while we're letting that sky dry. Nice thing about acrylics is if you do have a little area where you make a boo-boo or something, as long as it's kind of fairly smooth, you can cover over it really easily. So I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to let it dry and we'll just paint right over the top of it. So while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and put in some of our mountains, and I think I'm going to mix up some different layered colors. We've got all these layers of color. They're all fairly in the same color family, but they're all just subtly different, and they're getting darker as you get closer. Usually, generally with landscapes, you're going to notice that the skyline is going to be a lot lighter than your foreground. So that's obviously the case with this picture. I would think that if the light was coming behind you, that might be the opposite effect. If the light is behind you and shining, then the distance might be a little bit darker. But when you've got the light, in front of you, then that makes sense. So there's always exceptions to every rule.
I think I'm kind of getting shortchanged on my side of the video production here.
Why?
Because when I talk, nobody can see my hand motions. So, I just like...
True. Yeah, that doesn't seem very fair, does it?
They can't see this.
Ooh, super chat. Nice.
Oh, but they can hear it.
They can hear it, yep.
This one goes out to thanks for Johanna.
Thank you, Johanna.
It says, love your hair color.
Oh.
And thanks for taking us with you to Hobby Lobby.
That was great. Yeah, I did a little Facebook Live yesterday in Hobby Lobby, and was it yesterday? Yeah, yep. I guess it was. Yeah, and it was pretty embarrassing because I was trying to hide from other people, walking around with your camera on your face. It's not weird at all. So just trying to act normal, passing people like, hey, yeah, hey, just pass it off like.
I've seen people in Walmart shopping using video chat,
really?
Yeah, holding the camera up, like, now which one do you want me to get?
Oh, that's yeah. Well, I could see that. I could see that for sure. You know what? I think I'm going to wait because I need to do the sky first before. Now that I'm realizing up here, I can't do this purple mountains because I don't want to have to paint around them doing the sky. So I'm going to let that sky.
Man, you should put that paint back instead of washing it out. And I got a 7 minute.
I think I'm gonna let you dry this real quick.
Oh, nice.
I think. Well, yeah.
Are you sure?
It's not gonna take very much.
No.
It's gonna be real.
10 minutes.
No, be quick. We'll put a little mountain on our stick man back here. This is our Mark's contribution. He's actually going to be painting on Tuesday night for our Patreon folks. I did a part 1 of we do a bonus video once a month for our $5 and up Patreon folks, and I'm just going to paint right over that. Blend that in. Adding water here just so that it'll kind of lighten it up the bottom. Anyhow, yeah, so I got trying to cut back on my arm where I'm obviously got some pink tape today for my tendonitis issues, and so our bonus video turned out to be a lot longer than I had anticipated. So I didn't get to do the part 2 part, and Mark's going to finish it for me, so it should be fun. There's some little row houses, so. Anyhow, there's our stick man. He got some mountains behind him.
Aww.
It looks so good with this little heart tree. Thank you, hon. Okay, so let's grab some of this light ultramarine blue here. This will probably be our color back in here. right on the horizon line. We did pretty good on this side. We just need to fix this area up in here. Get some white there. Grab some. This is just purple and white here that I've mixed up, just those two colors. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that with my glazing liquid, and I still have this light ultramarine blue on my brush, so it's going to blend. Soften it up a little bit. And this is definitely one of those paintings that's probably going to look worse than before it looks better, at least in some parts. So just kind of know that going in. It's just going to be a process. We just keep working on it until it starts looking better. So don't panic if you get, you know, to this point and you're just like, oh my gosh, mine looks terrible. Just keep on working at it. It'll get there. Mine doesn't look all that great right now either. So, but I'll keep on.
So what color pink are your nails today?
I don't know the color.
Okay.
More quinacridone magenta.
Quinacridone?
Quinacridone.
Oh, there's a new pink color.
Just blending those two together. And what I'm going to do is as I work my way back up into the sky here, is I'm going to pull in some of these colors that I've already got down there and blend them back down. So anytime that you're trying to do like a transition between two colors, it'll help if you grab the next color up. So I've got Quinacridone Magenta here. This is Quinacridone and Cadmium Red, right, that we used before, and we had some purple mixed in with it down low here. So I've already got the purple on my brush, so I'm just grabbing the Quinacridone Magenta now to try to soften this transition between these two colors. And I'm going to grab more of that with some water here. And I'm going to go right into those yellow there, because this kind of comes out. My mountain is right here, so I want to go behind it with my lighter colors. So I'm going to grab that white, mix that with that pink. It's starting to get there. And grab some more of that light ultramarine blue. A little bit of white. Blend that back up.
So would this painting be good for a beginner?
I think this is probably an intermediate kind of, you know, middle range, just because of the, you know, complexity of the sky. If you simplified the sky a little bit more, you know, it probably wouldn't be too bad, but it's
just a blending.
It takes some blending. Yeah, it's the blending that really is the most difficult part, and blending can be kind of tricky for a beginner. So for, you know, first time painting, I wouldn't say it was particularly one of the more easy ones. So grabbing the Quinacridone and some white, and I'm going to come in over here with that. So we got pretty good. There's the bottom of our mountain range right there. I'm going to go right above that whole area with this light pink color. And then I'm going to use this to kind of put in some sort of suggestion of clouds, and we're still going side to side with this. That way anything that is streaky will look like it's meant to be there. And I'm going to blend that out here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of purple and blend over the top of that. There are a few little wispy clouds in here. So I'm just going to tap and kind of pull side to side with that to kind of get those cloud-like shapes. A little bit more of that Quinacridone Magenta. Between and around. Right. And now I just want to transition between these two colors because we've got kind of a hard edge right here. So I'm going to use the orangey red and mix that with the Quinacridone Magenta, which was my next color down. So the Quinacridone Magenta, a little bit of that orangey red that I had from before, which was kind of the Cadmium Orange mixed with some of the Quinacridone and a little bit of yellow, I think. Man, that rain is just beating on the house. Alright, so there we go. If it's not, let me add a little bit of that red. We had a little bit of that cadmium red in there too. Add a little bit of that. If it's not blending for you, you can just grab a little bit, dip into your glazing liquid. That'll help, or even just the water if you don't have the glazing liquid. That'll help give your paint a little bit more working time. Okay, that's looking pretty. Grab a little bit more of that Quinacridone. Just hope our paint power doesn't go out. If our power goes out, I'm sorry. We'll keep painting and we'll post it later. Well, I guess we couldn't. No, we can't. No, if the power's out.
Well, no. Well, I mean, we can paint. It just won't be recorded.
It just won't be recorded, yeah. It's true, true, true. Okay. So I'm going to use this and do some of these clouds here. Just using the edge of my brush, kind of pressing down, keeping that side-to-side motion. And giving these little wispy clouds. You can even use your finger to kind of help blend them in if they're too hard edged. I kind of think I brought this up too high. I'm going to bring some of that lighter color and pull it back down. Let's grab this cadmium yellow with this orangey color. There we go. And we're just going to pull down over the top. Now you don't want to get your yellow and your purple mixed together. That will create kind of a gray or brown. So we just want to make sure that we're not overlapping those too much.
Could you do this with a sponge?
Yeah, I actually thought about doing it with palette knife, and might be, you know, it'd be faster for sure with the palette knife. Kind of like I did the Sunset Beach, the ocean one, a while back. I think that this would be a fun one to do with the palette knife. So. Got that orange color there. Mixing that in. And anywhere you're getting kind of a rough transition, just add a little bit of that glazing liquid or your water. It'll help soften it up. Add some white to my cadmium yellow medium here. Still got a little bit of that orange on there. And blend that in up here. All right, then right around my sun, which this is my mountain peak right, where is it gonna be? There's that, so it's gonna be right here. So I want my sunset right there. It's about the right spot. I'm gonna move it over just a little bit. Right there. Put in some white right there. Grab that cadmium yellow medium, or cadmium yellow light, and pull out from the edges. And it's not a perfect circle, it's kind of a fuzzy, got a kind of a fuzzy edges to it. So I'm just gonna go side to side like we've been doing. Grab a little bit more white, dab that back in there and kind of blend that out. If I have too much paint on there and it's not blending, I'm just gonna wipe it off on a towel. And then I can kind of use my brush to very lightly just blend, very lightly. Right here I can tell that it's starting to dry because it was starting to kind of lift on me. So what I'm going to have to do is just kind of let that dry before I mess with it too much more. I'm going to grab some of this, spray my palette one more time. Grab some of this Quinacridone Red mixture here. This is the Cadmium Red Quinacridone, and I'm gonna come in very lightly on the sides and the outside edges of that yellow, and just blend those in a little bit. I'm not pressing down very hard because it is starting to dry, so I don't want to blend it too much. Grab some white, some of that orange, maybe a little bit of the cadmium or quinacridone, so like a light peachy salmon color. And over here, I'm just going to kind of go in between some of these clouds to soften up this area. It's a little bit too bright, right close to the sun. There. What are you laughing at over there?
You've got Quinacridone Magenta stuck in Denise's head.
Is that what I've said?
Yeah, that's what you said earlier.
Quinacridone.
Quack. Remember, instead of quinacridone, you said quack.
Huh?
Instead of quinacridone, you said quinacridone.
I did.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. We laughed. I said it was a new color.
I don't remember. It's kind of...
What do you got in that spray bottle over there?
I know. I get painting on these. I get so focused. I don't remember what I've said. It's a little scary. To tell you the truth, not gonna lie. Alright, so we're starting to get closer to what we want it to look like. We're still a little bit too dark right here, so I think I'm going to tone that down, and I still need to put some clouds up high. So let's grab some of the Quinacridone and purple mixture, that kind of violet color, and some of our white. And I'm going to use that. Oh, that's way too bright, too dark, too dark. Pull up. Abort. Okay, there we go. Here, that's better. I think I still want a little bit more pink. There we go. It should just be like 1 or 2 shades darker than our orange. So if you've got, you know, if this is super obvious, then you may want to lighten it up with a little bit of white. I'm just going to go real high with these, and here again, just kind of skimming the surface of the canvas side to side, letting these kind of random shapes happen. There we go. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of this down in here to soften up this color. dry enough, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of that Cadmium Yellow Medium. Put that on nice and thick right in here. Right on the outsides of that sun area. And try to blend that out. Wipe off my brush. Very lightly pull from both sides across. It's kind of sticking. This is not quite dry enough for this. Probably, but yeah, there we go. Right, then I'm going to grab some more of that bright white just on the tip of my brush and tap that in right in there. And then wiped it off and I'm going to soften out the edges of it. Pull out around the edges, just kind of tapping it out. Alright, there we go. That's how you get that kind of really bright glow. You almost want pure white in the center of those. And then those darker colors around the outside will do the work for you. Okay, I might even go back in and do a little bit more, but I think that's good for now. And I want a little bit brighter white. The acrylics often dry darker than they go on the canvas, so I'm going to do a lighter version of this Ultramarine Blue with white here.
Hey, real quick, when you did the sun there, was the orangey background dry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mostly, it was mostly dry. Do some lighter color right there. And then right in here, we'll grab that pink, mix that with it, and do some pink right along in here. Real low. Just making sure I have a really light area right at our horizon line all the way across.
Okay, Annie would like to know, do you keep a little water on your brush when changing colors, or do you dry it out every time?
When I change colors and clean out my brush, I always tap it on the paper towel. So you can go off the...
Yeah.
There we go. Let me see if I can move it so you can see it. Is it okay if I move this?
That's up to you.
There we go.
It's your channel.
Okay. So clean it out and wring it off the side like that, and then tap it a couple of times to get off, especially right in here. Just kind of pull the moisture off of this part of the brush because it's where it'll trap the most moisture. But I do want it damp, but it's not sopping wet. Like if I squeeze it out, it's not really dripping any water off. So clean out your brush, and anytime I'm dipping my brush into the water as I'm working, I'm just dipping the very tip of it in. I'm not going all the way, dunking it all the way in to pick up water, because that picks up way too much. It soaks up into here, and then you end up with this soppy mess. So clean it, a couple taps off the side, tap, tap, and then to the paint. So yeah. Yeah, every now and then you might just switch over and show what I'm doing with my brushes. I'm going to take the big ones out of the water so they don't dry. There's paint in them. Sorry, this is not exciting, but...
I'd just like to say hello to the world who's joining us today. I know we got Indonesia and Mexico and Australia,
What?
Canada, even 1 or 2 people from the U.S.
I need this real quick. Got a thing, a pop-up from one of my programs that keeps popping up on my computer in the most inconvenient times, and I've tried to delete it, and I can't seem to find the program file that making me do it. Won't let me delete it. It's really driving me crazy. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, there's some lady from Sweden here too.
Oh, hey Mona. All right, so got a new brush now. I'm going to use the Bright number 6. Really any kind of medium to large angle will do here. And we'll go ahead and start putting in our mountains. And let me see. So I'm going to start from the farthest back and move myself forward. So this one here is pretty much just purple. So I'm going to grab this purple mixture that we did and make it very, very light. It's pretty close to the color of the sky. There's not a whole lot of contrast, so I'm gonna, there we go, that's perfect. Do like that, and pull it all the way down to the next hills line. And if you want to get real fancy, you can grab a little bit of white and pull up from the bottom with a little bit lighter color. So maybe go a little bit darker on the tip of the brush here. I'll do it one more time. Then not that dark. There we go. Just a little bit darker on the very tip of the brush. And draw that along there, and it will create a little bit softer color at the very bottom of your mountain there. Let's grab some of this light ultramarine blue. I'm going to mix that with the purple just a little bit. We'll do down over here. This mountain is starting below the top of this one, so yeah, we're about right here, I think. And I want it just darker than, grab a little bit of that ultramarine blue. Just darker than the sky, so just enough contrast for you to be able to see it go against that sky. There we go. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of the Phthalo blue, mix that in. Now Phthalo blue is super saturated. Look at how little bit I used, and it really went crazy with that color. So I'm going to make sure I only use a very tiny bit, and I'm going to mix it really well with these other colors that I've got already there. Each time I add another color or move my way down, I'm going to use the color that I used previously with it, and that will cause that kind of ombre effect to happen. So I'm going to, got a new blue here. Start this one's going to angle right up to the top and go over the top of that. A little bit more of that. And as I work, I'm also kind of smoothing out my paint. I work fairly smooth, so you don't have any like thick spots in your paint. Not for this kind of project. So let me turn this a little bit, and I grabbed a little bit of that purple just to kind of tone down that. I felt like it was a little bit too blue. There we go. And here again, I have it a little bit darker on the tip of my brush, and see how I have it loaded and the bottom part is more of that lighter color. That'll give you that, and you can kind of dip in the back corner of the brush with the lighter color and then blend them so that there's both of them on your brush, and that way when you put that on you get that soft bleeding effect. There's just a slightly lighter color at the bottom there, and I'm going to pull this down a little bit more. This comes down. Come on. There we go. Put that lighter color on the bottom area. Grabbing the white here, and I need to soften this up right here. This area is pretty light. There we go. They can just put this on at night. They could tone it. We could just take rain sounds and make a
between your voice,
rain sound. Yeah, between my voice and the rain sound. I know, exactly. Yeah, somebody was saying the other day that they put my videos on when they want to sleep. It relaxes them. My voice.
I think that's a compliment.
Exactly. I was like, oh, thank you.
So we have over 400 people sleeping right now.
Exactly. Sorry, guys. Well, it's a Saturday, you know. It's time for a nap. It's a good afternoon nap time. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know what the color is. I'm sorry. I know you asked me that earlier. I have no idea. I didn't pay attention. I did manage to get a color that is almost exactly the same as my tape, though. That was the goal. And it also matched my sky, you know. So it was like a sunset, you know. I'm sure the physical therapist was like, okay. It was a guy. He didn't understand, you know. Well, he did say, well, since you're an artist, would you like a color?
How thoughtful.
I know. Very nice. And I said, why, yes, I would. All right, Ultramarine Blue here. It mixed a little bit with that purple color. That's this color right here, right? Because this is the next closest, so we're always kind of pulling the color that was behind in. And this one is our tall mountain in the distance. And it might be a little bit too dark. Let me add a little bit, tiny bit of white to that. Let's see. All right, so this is actually going to come up quite a bit higher than this, and almost even with our sun there. And it is, if you take the halfway mark, it's just to the side of the halfway mark. So I think I'm going to start right about there. About there. And pull down. And over, up. Need a little bit more purple. There we go. Back up. And back down. And if you find that it's easier, you can kind of turn your canvas to the side. I find sometimes when I'm doing these kind of things that it's easier to do a straight line if I'm holding it at an angle that is more natural to how I would normally write. So there we go. Our mountain.
So which brush are you using?
This is
it is an angle.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I lied in chat, sorry.
This is the number 6 angle, bright. The 6100. All right, so let's grab a little bit of that phthalo blue, which was what we used for this mountain, right? We're going to mix it with a little bit of this purple that we used on this and do our next one right here. And this one's actually probably farther back than this one, so I might want to lighten it up a little bit. Just has to be darker than this, right? Just a little bit darker than the one in front. Or the one in front has to be a little bit darker than the one behind, I should say. And blending those in. It should be very subtle like that. It really almost can't tell. And in this picture you can see, if you did it black and white, you could almost not see where this mountain is. So we want it very, very close to the same value and color as the mountain behind it. Right, this is where I'm going to pull in a little bit of teal now, because this fog area is starting to kind of look like teal in my picture. So I'm going to use a little bit of that mixed in. And teal, again, has a lot of that phthalo blue in it, right? So we've already been using that phthalo blue. And this time it's just got a little bit of green in it. So it's going to create this pretty soft smoky valley color. A little bit of teal, a little bit of white, and I still have all these colors on my brush, so it's blending with them. And I'm pulling from the bottom up into those colors so that they're blending a little bit. Like that. Might even add a little bit of it right above that one on the hill beside behind it. And use your finger to blend it out. Okay, let's do this one here. So grab a little bit more of that phthalo blue. A little bit of the Ultramarine Blue. Those two together create a really nice, like royal, just regular blue. And these mountains are very blue, so we can get away with using really just basically blue tones. I'm going to pull down like that. I might need a little bit of purple since we're still close enough, so I'm going to put a little bit of purple right at the top there on that one. Clean out my brush. Grab some of that teal color, that's our valley color, right? And blend that back up into to soften that transition between those two. And I think this needs to be a little bit lighter right here, so I'm going to grab some of that teal and just go over the top of that a little bit right there. Just washing some of that color. Now, that wasn't dry, so see what it did when I added water? It lifted that color off. So that's my bad. I didn't wait for it to dry before I did that. So really, at this point, I can't do a whole lot to fix that. I can let it dry and I'll mess with it once it's dry. Alright, getting that teal. I added a tiny bit of purple. Tiny bit. I'm going to put in our, I think this is dry enough now. We can put in our big mountain here that kind of comes over the top of everything else. So that one I think I'm going to do some kind of a turquoisey color. So I'm going to add a little bit of that green, phthalo green, maybe a little bit of the ultramarine blue. Maybe a tiny bit of purple. So I'm just kind of, yeah, that's good. Really deep dark color. Grab a little bit of white. Just to have a lighter version on hand, but I'm going to wipe off most of the excess on a paper towel, so that I have a little bit more control. Actually, I'm going to go and clean it out.
Do you need some fresh water there?
I might. All right, and then this is going to come up to right about here. It's going to come between these two. Dip down and back up right there. Comes in between these two, right there. And drops down like that. I think I went too high with it. I did. I went too high with it. Adding a little water there to, as long as this mountain behind me is wet, I can go in there with a little bit of water and just adjust that a little bit, pull off some of that color. There we go. Actually, this is dry now, so I can fix that part of the mountain that I messed up on that one. So I'm going to grab some of that phthalo blue with the purple. That was my mountain color there, I think, right? There we go. So I was able to kind of fix that. And we'll continue this mountain now. So it drops down quite drastically right here. And then it pops back up a little bit. And then continues on down. But as it gets closer to the valley floor, it lightens. So I'm going to grab some teal, some of this color here, and blend it back up this way. So that it blends up into that dark blue. And it's going to come right on top of this one. There. Thank you, hon.
You're welcome.
Okay. And then I'm going to pull with this darker color down at an angle, if I can get it to stick. Got a lot of lighter color on there, or got some of that watered down paint. And then down this valley, I'm going to grab some of the green, a little bit of that teal color. As we get closer, we're going to get more green. So we've started out with purple, blue, then we're going to do green. And then the grass in the foreground is almost going to be a yellow-green. So that's sort of the progression of colors here. So getting some of that green. Mixing that in with that blue. So an hour so far, that's not too bad, I guess.
It's doing good.
I didn't know how long this was going to be, this one. I figured about an hour and a half, so it's about on track for that. Super chat.
And I step away for a moment, and super chat happens.
Nice.
This one's from Carol. No message, just
you,
because.
Carol. This Carol
Yes.
that was listening to the AWOL Nation?
Possibly, yeah. I'm sure she'll let us know.
Okay. Carol won my AWOL Nation, one of my AWOL Nation CDs that I was giving away. But I'm sure there's more than one Carol watching, so thank you, Carol.
And she says yes.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to hear you were enjoying it. It's a good CD. Mark and I are going to go see them in 2 weeks. Or no, really, no, what, next weekend. Next weekend. That'll be fun. All right. Well, that's pretty good, I think. So let's do this mountain here. Coming down right here. And I think I'm going to use this same color here, just over this side. I'm going to grab that phthalo blue and purple mixture. Maybe a little bit ultramarine blue. It's too blue. Let's clean that out. Add a little bit of purple. More purple. I'm gonna have to. A little bit of white. My mixes are drying out here, so I'm gonna have to remix some of these colors. Actually, this one's up higher. It's up more like this. Comes down like that. I'm gonna grab that teal. and white. Mix that in, and I'm going to blend back up over the top of this, especially down in this valley area here. I want to soften that up so that it almost disappears into the other colors. Okay. This is starting to dry, so I can kind of go back over that bottom area too to kind of soften up. And what we can also do is, once you dry this completely, we can go in and just dry brush some of the lighter color over the top and soften, and we may just go ahead and do that. That's a really good little trick for adding like fog, foggy, just softening up the color a little bit. Let's grab some of that phthalo green. Mix that with that teal color that we've got on our brush. And a little bit of that blue color from up in here. And I'm just going to do a little bit of that down low here. And really I need to go a little bit darker than that, so let's do the phthalo blue and burnt sienna. Creates that kind of pretty blue-green teal color. Use that down here. Yeah, that's pretty. Pretty. Okay, and then up right here, there's another little mountain peak. I'm going to mix some more of that, just a little bit darker version. This version had like some of those greens and teals in it. Teal has the white in it, so I'm going to create a version that doesn't have the white in it. And right about where this one kind of points down, there's going to be another little mountain section that pokes up right there and then blends down into that color. And go up. And this is that hillside here. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint it with this color, even though this is not really the color that we're going to end up with. I'm off the canvas there, sorry. And then blending down below, just kind of pulling it down into the canvas there. And some phthalo green and teal. A little bit of that phthalo blue mixture that we've got here, right? I'm gonna have to let that dry, it's just not gonna blend. Put a little bit of it down here, but it's just gonna have to dry before I can do anything to it. Right, so let's continue to put in our colors on our mountainside here, and I think I'm gonna go with Ultramarine Blue and some yellow oxide. Go some phthalo green in there. There we go.
So let's talk traceables.
Yes. I will have traceables for this available on Patreon after the show. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on how my arm's feeling. It's oddly enough, the traceables hurt more than the painting does sometimes. Something about having to hold the pencil and drawing. So it's been usually the next day. I'll usually trace out from the actual painting. Yeah, so you have an exact replica of what we've done.
So that's the $1 level.
Yeah, for the $1 level, and then the $5 level gets to watch Mark paint on Tuesday night.
What? Just this Tuesday, though.
Just this Tuesday night, yeah.
So $1 traceables, going back to February last year.
Mm-hmm. Got phthalo green here.
$5 is that and the monthly bonus Patreon video.
Right, and they also get pictures of all the finished paintings, so they can do, if they're painting along, they can have all the reference paintings and yellow oxide here.
And then the $10 level is all that plus access to your Facebook group.
Right.
Where you have weekly chats.
Monday chats. Mm-hmm.
And they vote on
we
stuff.
added a butterfly to my wildflowers painting from last week, Saturday, in that group this week. So we just do whatever, you know. They get to vote on the bonus video too. So I'm just blending all these greens in here, doing a little bit lighter along this top edge of it with this phthalo green and yellow oxide mixture. We still need it fairly dark though, because we want our highlight colors to have something to play against, so they can't be too tame. Grab some burnt sienna here and do some burnt sienna in this field. And if you're seeing your canvas through like I am, that's fine. We can put other coats on here. We're not worried really too much about that, but I am going in the direction of the way these fields are kind of rolling, so that if any of these do show through later, that, you know, they look like they're part of it. If you did them in this direction or something kind of very geometric, like, it would look very unnatural if any of it showed through. So, we are going to be building layer upon layer. So we're always mindful of how this is going to look underneath our top layers. And so just kind of looking at my field, looking at my picture, all of these are sloping down. There's all these lines, all of these dark areas are what I'm looking at, and they're pointing this direction. So that's the direction that I'm doing my brush strokes in. On the mountain here, they're kind of sloping up, so that's what I was doing here. And then, of course, in the sky, they're going side to side. So that's what we did up here. So if you're painting your own paintings from your own reference photos, that's a good thing to look for. Look for the darkest color underneath, the deep darkest color, and paint that, add, and do it in the direction that it's growing. So like even when we're painting flower petals, we do the same thing. We usually go from the center of the flower out, because that's how the flowers grow. All right, done. No, I'm joking. We're getting there though. We're getting pretty close. It's looking good. Looking good. Got all our colors right, I think. I might want to wash in some color up here though. I feel like it's too purple. I'm looking at my reference photo and it's got a little bit more of a pink tone. So what I'll do is, I'm going to grab these and dip them down in my water. I'm going to grab my number 8 flat here. This is dry. And I'm going to grab some Quinacridone Magenta and my Glazing Liquid. Quinacridone Magenta is a transparent color, so it will glaze beautifully. You don't have to add white to it. You really don't want to add white to it. If you do want to lighten it, you can always add a little Zinc White because it's a transparent white, but we want to keep it transparent for this glaze. So I'm going to add my Glazing Liquid. If you don't have Glazing Liquid, use water. And I'm going to lightly go back and forth in this sky with the magenta. So let's just tone down some of that purple, those purple tones. If we want to go a little bit darker, we can grab a little bit thicker Quinacridone Magenta with our Glazing Liquid. Maybe down in here where we want it a little bit deeper, we use that. And I'm going to clean out my brush. Don't want it quite that low. And just use water to pull some of it up off down here and blend it out. I could have used my finger too if you wanted to. You could use your finger, but I find that Glazing Liquid kind of sticks to your finger a little bit more. If you're using water, it's easier to do that, but there we go. So got a little bit more of a blend there, I think. I'm going to use a little bit of purple with our Glazing Liquid. Back in here. Okay, and Glazing Liquid can tend to dry pretty quickly, so you want to let your layers dry in between. You don't want to go over the top too soon because it will actually kind of create like these little gummy, you know, like when you get glue on your hands and you kind of rub it and it creates these little balls. It'll do that on your canvas. With the Glazing Liquid, something about it is a little bit tacky, thicker than normal. Especially gel mediums, but you know, can do it with Glazing Liquid too. All right, so we're getting there. So let's, we've got this down here. So let's use our, I think I'm going to try this Willow's blender. I'm really excited to try this. I'm going to leave it dry. And I'm going to grab some of that teal. I'm assuming I need to do it dry. I don't know. We'll see. We might need water. Teal and white, which was our Phthalo color, right? And I'm going to wipe off most of it on a paper towel. And just lightly, ooh, didn't get enough off. There we go. Go down in this valley here and dry brush. A little bit of water. Want my brush dry. There we go. Now, I think the thing that people have to struggle with dry brushing the most is that they have too much water on their brush, or too much paint in their brush. So you really want almost no paint in your brush when you do this. And I might have gone a little bit too thick with my paint there. That's really fun. I like that brush. I'm going to use it for some foliage too. Alright, so let's use it. I'm going to grab some of that darker teal that we had mixed up. It's part of this mountain system here, and I'm going to just tap in some kind of really, really close to the color that we've already got there, but we just want some sort of indication that there's some little fields and things happening back here. I'll grab some of that Ultramarine Blue. Add that in. There we go. Just dabbing in. And then pulling out, just kind of scrubbing it down. I can tell already that I'm going to be using this brush a lot. I like it. If you don't have one, you could use something like their Deerfoot Stippler, or a stiff bristle brush, like a hog bristle brush or something like that would work too. But I like this one because it's kind of rounded tip, so it gives you a little bit softer, more natural looking edges. Grabbing some of that Ultramarine Blue. And then I'm going to grab some of that teal color too. Put a little bit of it over here. There's some kind of ledges that kind of come down here, so I'm just going to kind of scrape side to side a little bit right there.
So you were using the Deerfoot Stippler for the dry brushing?
No, I used this one for all of it.
Oh.
Phthalo blue and teal here.
And what is that one?
This is the new one that I have. I call a 3/8 inch Willow Blender Velvet Touch brush.
Ooh.
I know, it's fancy. I like it. Yeah, this is the first time I've used it, so it's very, very nice. Definitely will be using it again. Alright, and I'm going to use it a little bit on this side and kind of pull. This is Phthalo blue and teal that I've got here. So, what are you laughing at?
No, I was just thinking I might have to use it Tuesday.
Ooh.
No. When I asked if I was going to be allowed to use the grown-up paints on Tuesday, Angela said yes. And I said, well, what about the brushes? And she was like, no. So I might be finger painting the houses Tuesday night, but
I'll let you use them if you don't mistreat them. They're my babies, so pretty protective of them.
I don't know.
I don't know if you'll let you babysit them.
I think I'm going to go through the brushes you have over there for your students, so
Okay.
I feel more comfortable with those.
Yeah, some of my older brushes over there. Those are my better older brushes, so I can use those. You told on me. It's not right.
Hey. I know better than to try to use
Hey,
those
when
brushes.
you spend this much on brushes, which, you know, these are not inexpensive, I'm pretty protective of them.
True. You don't put them in the hands of the children.
Exactly.
I understand.
Yep. No comment. Oh gosh, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right, I need more purple. I'm running out of purple here. I need more white. Almost ready to do our field. So you see how that kind of softened up, kind of created that sort of more blendy, I don't know. Look, I feel like this mountain is too low, but I'm not going to mess with it. It's good enough. I haven't used my Unbleached Titanium yet, but I think I'll be using it in the foreground on the bushes some. And I haven't used the burnt umber yet either. Definitely going to need more phthalo green. Okay. So I think I'm going to switch to my larger. Well, no, I think I'm going to stick with the smaller one for now and keep on adding more of the details. So I'm going to mix up some teal with my phthalo blue and phthalo green. And then I've got a little bit of the yellow oxide in there too. Wipe off most of that. Use that down in this valley here. Maybe a little bit back in here, just to kind of tie these two together. Grab some purple, mix that with it. Add a little bit of white. I think that's a little bit dark. Okay. Grabbing some phthalo blue here. Put that over the top. Just trying to get the right color here. It's kind of interesting color on the picture there. You're awfully quiet. Ultramarine blue and phthalo and purple here.
You're doing a great job.
Okay.
Just trying to sell some brushes here in chat.
Are you? Yeah, these are on my brush guys list, so you can get these on the brushguys.com now.
Link down below.
Yep. Get 5% off.
Yep.
Using the code Angela Fine Art. Been very happy with them. We've been working with the Brush Guys for over a year now, and they're very good company. They have really good prices and good service. Fast, usually. Plus, they sent us a big gift basket for Christmas, so they're on my good
food.
Exactly. Mark was happy. All right, gonna add a little bit of this teal color here. I'm sorry, I'm messing with this way too long here. Just trying to get it right. This should not have taken this long.
I wasn't yawning because of that.
Okay. Are you joking with me now? little bit. He just wants to get back to playing Subnautica.
Yeah, I got up a little early this morning playing video games.
Yeah, like 6:30 or something. It's not really very early.
Oh, well, I was on my second cup of coffee by then.
So how early are we talking?
None of your beeswax.
Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay, so let's start adding our lighter greens up here. Got some burnt umber and unbleached titanium. Mix that in with this brush. I'm just going to keep on using this until I don't run out of neat uses for it, but it's working pretty good right now, so I'm liking it. So there's some brown up here on the hillside. Just going to kind of tap that in and pull side to side. Can kind of see that green underneath. Gonna do some really dark right here. Actually, this hill comes down like that. I'm gonna add brown to the one that's closer to us here. And then grab some of this yellow oxide with a little touch of this green turquoise color that we had mixed before.
Do you know what's happened to all this chocolate here?
What?
I don't know. There's like a lot of it gone.
Is there?
Kind of
Me and
strange.
Spencer had some earlier. Not that much though. Only a couple bars. By bars I mean little, you know, squares. Is there a lot more missing?
No, I'm just being
that's
silly.
not me. That was Spencer.
Right. And Spencer's taking some right now too.
For those who are new to our channel, Spencer is our 16-year-old who passed his driver's test this week.
Well, the written part.
The written part for the second time, part 2. It was actually part 5th time's the charm. Because the first time we went, the DMV was closed. The second time we went, the DMV was only doing the driving portion. Third time we went, we didn't have the right paperwork. Fourth time we went, he didn't pass the test with the right, you know, we had the right paperwork, but he didn't pass. And the 5th time we got it all right. So, took us a while, but we got there. Alright, so I'm going with this color here. That was our transition color, right? So I've got this brown with the green from the yellow oxide and phthalo green that I kind of did on the top here, and I did a little bit right here. So then I'm going to use the turquoise and transition. So I'm going to need a little bit lighter. Yeah, there we go. And there's kind of a highlight section right there that sort of pulls down. And a little bit that kind of happens along the mountain right there. Just tapping in a little bit of color. Grab a little bit. Actually, let's grab some of that brown. Unbleached titanium brown color. Use a little bit of that up here. Just a little. Okay, and now I'm going to use it up here too. Just dragging it kind of sideways. Gonna tap in. Let's tap. I'm gonna grab my brown and kind of blend that in. I don't like how that looked. You definitely don't have to go to this much detail as I am. I probably could have done this a lot easier. Sorry, I'm in the mood today. So going a little bit more detailed than probably necessary, but
what do you think, you are an artist or something?
I don't know. I'm going to grab some of this yellow oxide here and mix that with the greens that still have the brown in my brush, so I'm just kind of creating a new color here that's a little bit brighter. And I'm going to drag that along some of the high points of this, just kind of going again in this direction. This brush has got nice texture, so it's kind of creating these little soft blends. I'm not having to do a whole lot of work to blend it. And I'm going to just start tapping in as I get down closer. I'm going to start tapping and maybe creating some actual like little tufts of grass and things. But I want to make sure that I'm leaving some of the dark color showing, so I don't want to go overdo it right at first. We'll just add a little bit as we go. I'm picking out little areas that I want to create these bright areas, so you can kind of see how they're sort of little mounds of color happening there, right here, and all along in here. So is it buffering? Looking like it's buffering on my screen there.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
No, it was just me again not clicking in the right window. So
okay. I'm just kind of picking out these little mounded areas that I'm seeing and highlighting the tops of them. Let's grab some yellow oxide, maybe a little bit of white. Mix that in with that green. I'll use that in a few areas. Very sparingly, just tapping a little bit of color, a little bit of highlights. Tap, tap, tap. Very, very light touches. Barely touching the canvas here. Some of that phthalo green, some of that yellow. I'm going to mix some grasses down in here. Ooh, this is nice. It's like a fan brush with the Deerfoot all blended together. It's really good. I like it. I know you're not excited but new brushes. This is a happy place. I'm in my happy place right now.
Well, that's good.
New brush. All's good in the world.
It wouldn't be the same if you were upset and not enjoying yourself.
Right.
We'll try to find another YouTube channel for you to start where you just really don't enjoy it.
It's angry painting with Angela. I'm grabbing the Unbleached Titanium, I got Phthalo green. I grabbed a little tiny bit of Phthalo blue here, so I've got that kind of turquoisey color, and I'm going to go in some of these darker areas and add some of this in, tapping in some of this color.
And you're using your velvet brush still?
Yes. Yep.
Or again?
This is still that Willow's blender here, which I've met Willow. She's very nice. Talked to her on the phone, actually. Willow Wolf. Burnt umber here. Okay. I'm liking it. It's very pretty. Alright, so let's put in, there's a few rocks in here, so I think I want to, I don't know, I think I'm going to ignore those rocks, honestly. I don't really feel like doing that whole thing right there, so I'm liking the look of this the way it is, so I'm just going to keep on going here. More of that. A lot of times these brushes will get soggy once you've, like a regular hog's bristle brush will get soggy if you add water to them, but this one's not. This one's staying nice and firm, so I'm happy. That's why one of the things I'm really liking about it is it's still staying really firm. I don't know what the bristles are made out of, but it's very good. The natural bristles, hog bristles, will tend to just get floppy once you get them wet. So this I've been able to clean it out several times now, and it's still staying nice and firm for me. Okay. Some of that yellow oxide, and I'm going to add a little bit of it to this. Here. Maybe do some of that grasses. Grab some of that burnt phthalo green. Pull up. As we get down to the bottom, you're going to get more details showing through. So you can do these, you know, kind of grass strands. You don't want to do stuff like that up in here because you're not going to see the grass. All it's going to look like is, you know, flat lines, really, when it gets farther away from you like this, way up in here. You're not seeing your individual grass strands. So if you try to do grass up here on your hills and you're doing all this stuff where you're seeing these long blades of grass, it's going to ruin your perspective. So keep the grass down real close. If you're doing any grasses, keep it down in this lower section right here only. And then as you get farther away, just do these kind of stippling things. Stipples. I'm going to do a little bit of grasses down in here. But most of this is going to be covered up by flowers, so just kind of laying in the background for our flowers to go. Some burnt umber here and my green, and I'm gonna lay in some really dark areas. Especially like right behind and underneath these lighter areas that I put in. And I probably should have done this first, but I'm noticing that I didn't have any, my dark areas dark enough that they kind of lost the contrast. So just adding some back in here. We need some really dark, almost black areas for our flowers to be able to show up against. Back up in here, I just need to tap. And then I can go back in and tap in some of that lighter color on top again if I need to blend it back in. I've got the phthalo or the yellow oxide here. Grabbing some cadmium yellow light. I might want to try the fan brush. Let's grab the fan brush here. And I'm going to thin down my paint here. So I'm going to grab the yellow oxide, a bit of phthalo green, a bit of that cadmium yellow light, and a little bit of white just to make it bright, really nice and bright. And just a few little change in the direction as I do it so that they're not all facing the same direction. And kind of overlapping, sometimes maybe leading with the tip of the brush so you're getting kind of a different angle on it. That's way too right down there, I didn't want that. Okay. And up in here, I'm just going to tap. Just tap. No need to do anything else. Just little taps. See how now we're glad, you know, this is why we needed to do that dark first, because now we've got something to play against. So when we put this lighter highlights in there, they're showing up. Okay, I think we're about ready to put in our flowers and we'll be done. And I think I might want to stick with this fan brush and then we'll see how it does. The flowers we can do a couple different ways.
So is that just a standard regular old fan brush?
This one is a little bit smaller than your normal one. It's number 2, but it's quite small. So, but it's very stiff bristled. I don't think it's not hog hair. It's a synthetic because it's not getting soggy. So I don't know what it's made out of, but I really like it. It's called a bristle fan. So, but it may be hog bristle, but it's definitely staying firm. It's been wet down, so. All right, I'm going to grab the Quinacridone Magenta. Add some water. Hopefully it's not too dry. And some of that purple. And this is our flower color. It's a kind of a violet color. And first I'm just going to use this dark version of it and tap in some of it in a few places. Let me use the edge of my brush here, just tap in. And use my finger to tap it out a little bit. I think I might want to use a smaller, let me use this angle brush here. Angle brush makes actually really nice dots if you use the tip of it. So I'm going to load that up and turn it so that the tip is pointing down, and then it's going to just dab with it. It's going to create these little good little dots. As I get down closer, I'm going to dot really hard, like push down, you know, quite firmly, and I'll get these larger dots. Don't try to space these out so they're not touching. Go ahead and touch them right next to each other. And that way they'll look a little bit more natural. Overlap them. The ones that are closest to us are going to be nice and big, so really press down nice and hard. And then as we get farther away, I'm going to press down hard, less less firmly. More Leslie. Tap, tap, tap. Very tiny little dots up in here. You can get just by barely touching the tip of it with this brush. So they're going to get a lot smaller as they go farther away. And as they get farther away, they're going to be clustered so closely together, you're really not going to be able to see the individual flowers anymore. So up in here, you're going to have them almost like what we did with the grasses, where there's just like little lines of color that are barely kind of stippled. These ones are going to be bigger, close to the bottom. I'm kind of following the lines of that I've kind of painted, so I'm putting these kind of mostly in the dark areas, leaving some of these highlighted areas. I'm kind of overlapping them a little bit, but okay, so we've got some dark color in there. And then we'll add our white. Might even grab a little bit of, yeah, I don't like the red. It's too purpley. Get a little bit more of that Quinacridone Magenta, or too orangey. This is pretty bright fuchsia. This is a very hard color to find. It's Quinacridone Magenta is one of the colors that's closest that I found, you know, that can get closest to this kind of fluorescent magenta, fluorescent fuchsia color without being a actual fluorescent. It's the brightest magenta out there that I found. I don't know. So let's use that with some white. We'll grab a little bit of our purple, the dark purple. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more of that brighter white at the very tip of my brush. So I have the back end kind of loaded with the medium value and then the light color on the tip. I'm going to go right over the top of these dark ones that I've done. It's not quite the right color. I don't know. Go over the top. You don't have to, you can leave a little bit of the dark showing, but it'll help kind of give it a little bit of depth in your flowers. Tap up in here. There's some way up in here. Barely any color. Maybe up in here too, just slightly.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of flowers are those? Do you know?
I don't know. I think they're clover, maybe? No. They might be ice plant. Ice plants have those kind of fluorescent.
Closer here. Hold on.
The greenery is kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's some sort of a low growing.
It looks like similar to ice plants, but I don't think that it is. It's not. I don't think it's a succulent.
No.
Well, we've got so many people from different parts of the world. Somebody's bound to recognize it, right? They probably have some growing in their yard. It's pretty, whatever it is. Still pointing straight down at the canvas with the tip of my brush to get these nice little dabs of color. I find this easier than using a round brush, but you could use a round brush if you wanted to. I just like this. It holds more paint, so you can go longer without having to reload. So I can really do, you know, cover almost the whole field without having to reload. If you were using a round brush, you would have to reload every other dot, you know, every 2 or 3 dots. You'd have to get a little bit more paint because it would stop. Flowing. Okay, a little bit more white here. Do some really bright highlights, and always with your highlight colors you want to go very sparingly, so really use these thoughtfully. Don't do it as much as the medium color is always like the most, you know, the most you'll see it the most, and then these highlight colors are really going to draw your eye, so you really want to look at your picture and see where they're happening. They don't happen on every flower. What are you laughing at over there?
No, I'm coughing.
Coughing? Oh.
I found another picture of the flowers, but it doesn't tell me what they are. Not very helpful.
Mm-mm. magenta. I feel like these are a little bit too dark still. Try to get them a little bit brighter. But we're almost done. Sorry, was that loud? Is that what you're laughing at?
That was a little clacky, but it's all right.
Okay, let's just use some of the magenta. Dab some of that in. Yeah, that's better. It's kind of giving it a little punch of color. Tap, tap. Really, this will help also if you do that kind of, we talked about it last time we did these kind of impressionist flowers, but if you kind of squint a little bit at your picture when you're doing it, it will help you not get so caught up in like every little flower. Because sometimes what happens is you start painting them and you're like, oh, that doesn't look good. That one little one is just wrong. And then you kind of try to fix it, and then it ends up being this big blob of solid color because you've kind of fixated on one little section. But if you just kind of keep moving and gently tapping, and you know, don't get too focused on any one little dot, they're all going to kind of eventually sort of blend into this beautiful painting. So each little individual one is not all that important, you know, so don't stress out if you have one particular little dot that is just like, that one looks terrible, because you're really not going to focus on it. Chances are nobody's even going to notice it. It's going to get lost in all these other little ones here. So, and with, you know, nice thing is we can go back in with some other color and cover it up if we, you know, really do, you know, drop your brush or something and get something that just looks really terrible that you just cannot stand. Always go back in and cover it with something else. So I think we're pretty close here, and if we want to, we can finish it. I'm going to take some Phthalo blue and white. Maybe a little bit of green. And I'm going to use it to create some little leaf. Just tap in a little leafy. The color around the flowers is kind of a dusty green, so this will be pretty, and it'll pull in the colors from our mountains down here into our foreground. We unified a little bit. We've pulled some of the yellows in with the greens that we've mixed up. So this will just be another little, and let's use a little bit of it up in here. Grab some more white there. Maybe a tiny bit of brown. Create kind of a gray. We'll sort of indicate those rocks, but we're not going to paint them all in. And if you get that on there and you just hate it, we might blend it in a little bit with our green. Grab some of that green from our field, right? A little bit of the brown. And just tap over it. Get it to fit into our field a little bit more.
Okay, Chad is just like going crazy trying to figure what these out.
Oh, really?
And so I think Kim is right. I think they're rhododendron.
Rhododendron. Ah.
I'll show you a picture I found and you can tell me if you think it is.
Okay. Unbleached titanium, a little bit of cadmium yellow medium here. Oh yeah, definitely. Yep, definitely. Kim gets a prize.
Congratulations, Kim. You won.
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate it because it would bug me. I would have been looking for it. That's great.
Oh, wait a minute. Now Mona says that she said it first. Man, I wasn't really paying attention to chat. I was looking up pictures of flowers. And so now,
it's probably from that area. Is it a European where they grow? I don't know where this picture was taken.
In the mountains.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so people are backing up Mona, saying that she said it
Mona's
first.
the one. Okay.
Yep. So we have to take the prize away.
Sorry, Kim.
Yeah.
All right, I think this is about done. What do you think, hon? Good. Let's maybe punch up that sun just a little bit.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what you were thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking, man, that sun really needs to be punched up.
Needs to be punched up. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to use this blender here, see how it works. So I'm going to grab some bright white. Dab that on. Wipe it off. Grab some of the cadmium yellow light. And blend it in this way around the sides. There we go.
I don't think this is going to be part of the splatter movement, is it?
No, no splatters today. Somebody said the other day, she commented, they were like, I liked it until you splattered it. I'm like, well, you're not part of the movement. Obviously, you haven't gotten the memo about how awesome splattering is, so.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel sorry for you.
One day, they'll catch on.
Yeah, one day they'll be like, you know, when it first happened, I didn't see it, but now.
I didn't really believe in it.
Right, exactly.
You know, they probably like, you know, I didn't like cell phones at first.
All right, I'm grabbing some of this cadmium yellow light. Now that I'm looking at my picture, I'm realizing that there's not as much contrast right here. Like, see how light this is? It's not quite as bright as that sun, but it's not nearly as dark as we have it here. So I'm going to go ahead and punch up my highlights with some of this cadmium yellow light here and just tap in some of it here and there. This will also help kind of our fields. We can differentiate this field from the field behind it. Differentiate, that's a big word. You don't use that very often. Sentence.
I don't use it probably at all.
At all?
It's too long.
There we go. Trying to kind of go in between my flowers here. Don't cover all of them up. I do want some of this color in here. There we go. That's better. It's making it look like the light's hitting, the sunlight's, you know, just barely hitting the tops of some of these. I'm gonna switch to my fan brush here. The last little bits here, really, these last little details though, kind of really do help. So I'm gonna take my green with my fan brush and just kind of tap it back over some of this to just make sure that it blends in. Ooh, got a lot of green on there. My fingers. I'm going to grab some of that brown. Do some dark. Using my paper towel here to just kind of blend in some of those edges if I got them on there a little bit too dark. Just working on these contrasts between the two colors. Almost done here.
30 minutes.
No, I'm done. I really could have stopped already. I'm just kind of messing with it now.
Oh, we know you could have stopped already. You didn't have to tell us that.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
But you take it to that next level and then a little bit
Good
more.
Save. Good save.
You know, you're like you're adding the Angela essence.
There you go.
It's kind of like the emerald essence. You're like, bam!
Exactly, bam. All right, phthalo green, a little bit of the yellow oxide here, and the white. And I'm kind of doing a middle value here. Kind of tapping in a little bit of this color. Go over the top of your flowers too much, or you hopefully will have done this right the first time, gotten them dark enough, bright enough, whatever. But I usually do look at my paintings after I get them done, and a lot of times I will go back in and do like I'm doing here and add just another layer of light and another layer of dark, and that's really what can help bring your painting to the next level, is just getting those contrasts to really really vivid contrast. And don't be afraid of doing that. It can be kind of scary because it is very dramatic, but it's what makes your paintings really come to life too, so it's really important. Just using the corner of my brush here to add some of this color. All right. I think we're good. I think I'm going to stop. I'm happy with that. Let me pull out my brush here. Somebody was saying that they were painting, or they signed with this, and even after they let it dry for a while, it still bled when they varnished. So in order to keep that from happening, what you can do is use a spray varnish to just lightly spray it, spray your canvas, and then varnish over the top. some varnishes can react with the inks. So I did have that happen on a white canvas when I was using the Faber-Castell pens. This is my Pigma FB Sakura. It's a India ink. It's permanent, but you know, maybe the varnish chemicals or something can react with it or something. So if that's happening to you, just give it a light coat with like an acrylic spray or something like that, and then you should be good to go. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching today. I really appreciate you, and hope you try this. If you do, you can show it to me on my Facebook page, Thankful Art. Links down in the description there.
Yep.
And sign up on Patreon if you want to get the traceables. It's Angela Fine Art at patreon.com/Angela Fine Art. And
we'll say if they share it on their social media, they can tag you.
Yes, they can tag me. Also. Yep. And what else was I going to say? I don't know.
We'll see you next week.
Yep, we'll see you next week. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.